in 5 months. Right. 4 months, really. 4 months. No, actually, really only 3 months of this app being out.
The app, January 24th was our release.
Yeah. So, and I'm like, man, we only have X amount of a couple hundred followers and stuff like that. And I'm like, what are we doing? I had like a breakdown the other day with Dominic, like a mini anxiety attack. It's like, we put a ton of money into this.
And time.
Where is it? Yeah. Where is it? When's it coming? And it's like, okay, they got to double down.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just like, it's not bail.
Yeah.
Dominic, by the way, Dominic doesn't understand the term cut bait. Do you know what cut bait means?
No.
I do now. Yeah. Something with fishing.
If it gets when you're
I don't fish.
I don't fish either.
I'm sorry.
No, the fish and eventually it just gets too hard and you just cut bait. You're done.
So it's funny you brought up Starbucks and Tesla. The owner of Starbucks took out 2 mortgages on this house.
He got rejected, I think, 500 times from his idea of pitching Starbucks.
Exactly.
500 times.
J.K. Rowling.
Oh, I think it was over 1,000 times people rejected her to publish it.
Elon, how many companies did he start before PayPal?
When he took off from PayPal and he made his money, I think he made $250 million, some crazy thing like that.
Yeah.
He ended up putting it all into Tesla, and then he had to borrow money from friends and family to pay rent.
Right.
Like that's going all in. To me, that's all in.
He doesn't even own a house.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Elon?
Yeah. He says he stays with friends.
He stays with the friends, yeah, and he stays at the office, the different companies.
There's Grant Cardone. His big pitch is you should never own a house, and I wholheartedly disagree with you.
I disagree with that heavily too. That's a whole different topic.
That's a whole different topic.
Yeah, weird. The real estate agent disagrees with it. Yeah. No ulterior motive there. No, I agree too. Trust me.
Interest rates are not that high right now.
6%. What a steal.
Yeah.
You always refi.
Exactly. That's the pitch, right? Interest rates were at 17.
Yeah, so you're still
30 years ago.
Yeah.
When houses were a nickel.
Leverage against either. Houses were a nickel.
But no, it's nice to be, and you gotta surround yourself with people like yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Very important.
Like go-getters, because if you surround yourself with these like melancholy, like woe is me,
it's gonna drag you down.
What did you do? Did you have people like that? Did you cut out of your life?
I cut out every single person in my life that wasn't conducive to my growth. The only 2 people I'm close friends with from growing up is my existing business partner Michael. And my other best friend PJ, I'm going to see him graduate med school tomorrow in PA. Everyone else.
All right, med school.
Calm down, PJ. I'm just kidding.
So I have a question about that because did you cut them out because they were like, did you enjoy their company or were they just always just negative about?
I changed what my enjoyments were. When I was younger, going out, drinking, bars, clubs, that was fun. But it really wasn't me, and I never realized that because it's like you're just doing what everybody else wants to do. Right. But then I realized it's not really what I care for, and I started going to the lounges, and that's really when I realized I have to do what's best for me in the end. Right. And if that doesn't involve you being there because you're not conducive to that end goal, then it's a hard pill to swallow. But listen, it's going to drag you down. And at the end of the day, you got to know your why. If you got family, you got kids, that's your why. If anything's going to take away from you getting them what you want to get them, then they got to be out, no matter how difficult it may be to say no. And at the end of the day, maybe those people will come back into your life at some point, but they're not going to be necessary to get to where you want to be. And it's tough. Like, I don't talk to most of my family. My family to me is my father, my sister, my aunt, and my grandparents that I left. That's it. Yeah. And that's it. I don't talk to my aunts, my uncles, it's just not, they don't believe in it. They don't need, it's just, there's no point. This is how I look at it. It's a sad thing to say, but it's the reality of business. And you talk to these top guys, and it's very similar in that sense.
Get on the train.
It's going to be lonely, but you got to surround yourself with people that are also doing. It doesn't have to be people that you can partner with, or people you can do business with, just people that are on the same track, that are like-minded, and they're constantly going to push ideas in front of you, and they're going to push you and be positive. How you been? How can I help? What's going on? What are you up to? And it's that's the type of stuff. Yeah.
And if you're not grabbing nuggets from those conversations, what are you doing?
It's a waste of conversation and your time. You got to be doing something that can move your needle forward.
Exactly.
We have finite time to get to the goal.
What's that expression? Never be the smartest guy in the room.
Yep, it's true. That's why I love these cigar lounges.
Anytime
he's the smart, but he's going against his whole role. He's the smartest guy in this room, so I don't know.
Gotta find some. Put your med suit.
Yeah, can you get your med suit friend to go sit there?
No, but you gotta grab the nuggets, man. Like on my notes on my phone, whenever anybody says something to me,
that's me. Put on the note. Yep.
Yeah.
I have the same thing. Topics to talk about, things that inspired me. Yep.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It just makes the most sense, and there's no. I don't see any other solution.
No.
I didn't want to be. I had a 9 to 5, and I was incredibly excited to get out of it. I had a support system, but I don't see any other solution right now.
It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. That's why not that many people succeed in this avenue, because it is hard.
Entrepreneurship is so sexy. It's so
it's the hardest career.
That's yo, I want to throw that in my IG. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Yo, come to me for whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Listen, people see my lifestyle. I golf a lot. I smoke a lot of cigars. I go to a lot of dinners. I go to a lot of events. Wow, that sounds like so much fun.
Sorry to cut you off. It's 3 o'clock on a Friday, and you're up here smoking cigars.
Yeah, and I'm going to golf after this. It's Golf National.
Yeah.
It's not too bad of a life. And then after, I got another cigar meeting. But
Right.
they don't see what I do before and after. And they don't see what I did to get to that point where I'm talking to hundreds of people. I'm dealing with so many inbound people. And that you can't see that. No. So it's like, yeah, you see the reward of all the labor that I'm putting in, that I'm still putting in, and the labor that I've been putting in for the past several years.
Right.
And people miss that because, like, again, social media, it's great, but it's also a flaw to these entrepreneurs where they see who they want to be, and if they don't achieve that level in their determined timeline, they jump ship. But at the end of the day, what it took me to get to where I am is going to take you a different timeline. It may take you quicker, it may take you longer, because you've had different things that come into your path.
Right.
Same thing with me. When I used to look at people that I wanted to be like and they're doing better than me, I stopped that whole mentality, because at the end of the day, it's you versus you. Because if you set yourself up, I want to be like him. And let's say him is making $10 million a year, right? And you eventually get to that 10 million mark to yourself. I just want to beat him now. I'm going to get to 11. Well, 10 million for him might have been 110% of his capacity of what he could be, his potential. But 10 million for you might only be 50% of what your true potential is, but you stop now because your meter was going against someone else. But if you're constantly fighting against just yourself day in and day out, that's where you're going to unlock your fullest potential.
Yeah, 100%. That's the only way you should do it, right? You got to beat yourself from the last year and continue year after year,
day after day.
You know? And it's you brought something up earlier about all these businesses that have been in business for 2-3 decades, and they're like, I don't see an ROI with this social thing or doing this. So why not put yourself in front of a camera, add value to your clients, grab your client list that you've accumulated over these 2-3 decades. Throw up a MailChimp, send them your YouTube channel or your podcast or your item of value. And now you can return that client list that you've accumulated, and now those are advocates for you on your social. They follow you, and it just grows. Yeah,
you can add value to them, or you said if you have a podcast, you can get them on and give them a client spotlight.
Exactly.
You know, just add a little more extra value to them.
So doesn't always have to.
Listen, I couldn't tell you the return on my investment for Instagram. It's been my whole last 7 years, but it's changed my life.
Right.
You know, I can't tell you how much I made from everything. I just know everything that I've done gets me closer and closer to my goal. Like I said, when I go out to events in different states, I get recognized. Oh, Tony, I don't know who these people. Like they know me from social media.
Right.
And it's to create that. That's return.
Why you always wear your swag.
Always got to wear your
Tony
brand.
yelled at us before we did.
Did you find it difficult in the beginning to create the value though, or show it? I guess.
So in the beginning, all I was showing was my journey. The tough days, the easy days, what I was doing every day, and just being extremely vulnerable and open. And that's a very difficult thing for many people. But in the beginning, when I didn't have much of a business to show, it was just showing what I was doing to grow into who I wanted to be. So I would show the books that I'm reading, the people that I'm meeting with. I would do a little selfie video about what I learned that day or what I didn't learn that day and how it was a hard day or how it was an easier day. And that's real shit. And now when people are watching along on the journey, they feel like they're part of your journey. So now people have been watching me, some of them for 4 or 5 years. They're like, Tony, it's been amazing to see your success. I'm almost like one of those rappers that you follow before they pop and they become successful.
Jack Harlow.
Yeah, there you go. The Baby was a big one too. People just like, I remember you before, you know, and like people have that sense of I was on your journey before you became what you are now. And they're just so much more vested and bought into your brand and your mission over time.
Yeah.
And you can see where it changes on their social page. Like you see the progression, you're like, that's where it clicked.
Yeah.
And then their reach becomes larger on that day 3 years ago. And you just see them, like they clicked in their mind, and you're watching it from your phone. You know what I'm saying? It's so nice to watch if you're not one of those person who's malicious and like.
Which most people are.
Jealous. Yeah, they are, because they want to see anyone else be more successful than them. But at the end of the day, the most successful guys that I know, they want to help me become more successful than them. And that's what I've learned. That's what success is.
What is it? A rising tide or a high tide raises all boats?
For someone that doesn't read, you have a lot of quotes.
Yeah. I listen.
AccountaBuddy quotes.
Right. I do like you. I listen to a ton of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm big on Audible and podcasts. I love it. I love the style, the
Our
format.
dad emails us quotes like probably once.
Not to mention, AccountaBuddy does shoot out every time you load the app. There's quotes in there.
Yeah.
I actually had me and business partner Mike. We actually started a text messaging marketing company in 2018, and it was called Ignite Messages. And every day you were a subscription business, like $7 a month, and we'd send you a motivational quote, 2 podcast recommendations a week, 2 book recommendations a week, and every day they'd get a motivational quote. I think we were ahead of our time. Then we ended up stopping it. The subscription was only amount. Then we jumped into Why Not You, and here we are. But it's
okay. Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
You started it, and then you fine-tuned it, and then you made it into something bigger. but you wouldn't have been here to where you are today if you didn't start that to get to where you are today.
Absolutely. People, like, listen, when I had the lip balm company, I ended up failing by societal norms. I was 4 years of college, and I wasn't my full-time job when I graduated doing lip balm. It's not that I failed because it closed. It was a success to me because of what I learned. And I think people miss the mark on that because a failure to them is a finite failure because you're taught in school. Failure is failure. You get left back or you don't graduate, whatever the case is. But in business, a failure, it's a positive thing if you can learn from that. So that all the failures that I've had got me to where I am because I learned from them time and time again, and it built me into where I am now. But if you're not failing enough, you're not going to be able to get to the level of success you want. Like we said, the most successful people in the world, they're the biggest failures. They failed more than any other person in the world.
Yeah,
That's how I look at it.
And fear of failure just cripples people.
Yeah, man. And you listen, if you're young and you're listening to this, now's your time to try a lot of stuff, to see what you don't like, to see what you can learn from the things you did like and the things that you don't like. Like when I was in school, everyone was so one-track minded. I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to be an accountant, I'm going to be an attorney. And they didn't venture into different things. Listen, I tried to get into Wall Street when I was in college. I was like, I want to make big money. I'm going to go work at a hedge fund. I applied to 200 Wall Street banks. Only 4 of them replied with denials. No one else even got back to me. And I was like, and my partner Michael, who remembers when I filled out all the applications, and I was like, okay, on to the next thing. Like it never fazed me, the loss or the failure, as people would say, because look, okay, that just wasn't my thing. I learned how to tweak my pitch for resumes and cover letters, and I moved on to the next thing. And a lot of people, they get so stuck in one failure compounding into that's it. Like I just have to do the one thing and stick with it because that's what you're taught as a kid. Because even when you're younger, what do you want to be? I want to be the president. Like when you're super young, your parents are like, that's a great goal, Jimmy, right? And you're like 5 years old. And then you get to like 8 years old. What do you want to be? The president? That's not realistic. What about a doctor? Okay, I want to be a doctor now. And then they get to 15. He's not that sharp of a kid. He can't be a doctor. Maybe he can be a teacher. Not to saying teacher's dumb, but you're saying like you constantly get told by your family, your friends in school that, okay, that's probably unachievable for you. So think about lowering your expectation, your goal. And it fucks you up in life. And then when you get to that point when you can do what you want to do, you get so bought into, okay, this is my cap and that's it. And it's a terrible thing.
Absolutely.
I think I kind of started I'm in the med device industry. And when I started working, man, I was a bartender. I worked at a bank. I was a bank teller. I worked at a...
You were a genius at that point?
I wasn't a genius. I was just a back of the house person. But I was working like 80-hour weeks. And then finally something opened up. It's like my cousin said, hey, we have a job with this company in the medical field and everything like that. But that kind of speaks to that. It's like, all right, now I'm in this field. I enjoy it. I really do. Enjoy working in the field, everything like that. But it's kind of like, that's it. Like that's what I was kind of told. Like that's my path. And then luckily I just have, Dominic and I are the same way. It's just like everything I see now, and I talked about this before, is like, how can I make money in anything? Like you look around the room, it's like, oh, pool sticks. What's the market like for pool sticks? I noticed those are a little worn out. Hey, how often does a guy come to your selling pool? Like things like that, and it's just like a mindset that you kind of got to either you're for it or not. And my wife, God bless her, like if I throw her another business idea at this moment in time, I think she's going to kill me. But it's funny. There actually is something we're thinking about, but we can't say it because my wife listens. But it's coming soon. I'll let you know when it happens. But no, I think that it is a mindset, and I love it. I do because I'm not bored.
Yeah. Every day is a different day, and I appreciate that being an entrepreneur, that it's not monotonous. You can constantly learn and grow because of the differences. And so every day is a different day, and there's not much routine. That's tough. Like, listen, a 9 to 5, anyone that's in a 9 to 5, it's easy. That's an easy life.
Right.
Set times, you can wake up and go to the gym before because you know you're going to be working this time, or you can go to the gym after and you can do X, Y, and Z because you're set times. When you're in business for yourself, you got to figure out your schedule.
That's true.
Like when I first quit my job and I went to this full time, it was me making my own schedule. Now, what do I got to do? Like no one teaches you how to make your schedule efficient, or you how to time block and how to do the right things that are going to move the needle forward. And it's almost overwhelming to people because they have so much time, so they don't take advantage of that. And that's why a lot of people end up failing, because they're like, I have the freedom of time now, so I'm going to do less on what I should be doing because I have all this availability. But that's the time you can double down now.
Right.
And people lose that mark completely. Another thing too, it's like your weekend's got to be an extension of your week, especially if you're a 9 to 5er. Like especially, and I said this all the time when I was in construction. I would say, listen, my weekends, that's a massive opportunity for me to get an extra 20 hours in. That's a half a work week. Right. If you're going to work 10-hour days on Saturdays and Sundays while you're in a 9 to 5. There's no reason not to.
Right.
Just that's it. Just say no to other shit.
Lazy.
Stop going to parties. Stop going to other things. It's just you wanted, I got my cousin's graduation party. No, you don't. Like, that's it. Don't go. It sounds fucking ruthless and tough, but I said no to all this shit. Like, you kind of have to at some point. And it's just, listen, if your goal means that much to you and your why is what's pushing you to get to where you want to be, then you're going to cut away everything that's not getting you to where you got to go.
Exactly.
Easier said than done.
Extremely easier
For sure.
said than done.
Yeah.
If you had to sum up something for our listeners who are looking to start a business or looking to start losing weight or looking to start something today and need to do it daily, like what would your message be?
Figure out what your why is and then work backwards from there. Because if you know your why, like, listen, at the end of the day, let's say, like,
What is your why?
My sister. Bottom line is my sister, and then secondarily is making an impact as many people I can in my lifetime.
Okay.
And those are big whys. Whereas my smaller whys, I want a Lambo, right? And you want like the nice looking stuff. I'm big into that. Like
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's not going to get me out of bed on a rainy day and I don't feel good because I'm tired from the event last night. But my sister, in the back of my mind, that's what gets me out of bed on those tough days. On the easy days, I'll get up because of the Lambo. I got to make money today, right? But on those hard days, you need to have your why, because if you don't have your why in place on those tough days, you're not going to get up and do what you got to do. And I hear this all the time too, like, motivation is great, but motivation doesn't last, and it shouldn't last, and you should never always have to feel motivated because it's not realistic. But what does have to stay consistent is discipline. And discipline is just doing what needs to be done day in and day out, no matter if you feel like it or not. And that's what's going to get you to where you want to be.
You get me jazzed up right now. I want to go
Went through a wall.
Well, Dom's a good example of the why, because I know a big thing that Dominic wants is he wants his wife to not have to work. So that's why Dominic busts his ass with all these things, and he's creating it, and more power to him, because it's actually coming true.
And I respect that. I think the more you put that out there too, builds a level of relation and rapport with other people that can relate to that. Like, okay, that's my why. Like for me, it's my sister, where we both grew up in the same household. I want to show you anything is possible from where we came from, because we have the same upbringing. So if I can do it, why not you? Ironically enough, that's just how it falls into place. But
this guy's been plugging why not. Genius. He really.
Honestly, it's ridiculous.
He is the Godfather of marketing. My God. Our 50 followers will appreciate that.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And listen, that's a great point too. You mentioned that. You talk about the number 50. It sounds so small. I'll get on podcast if only one new person hears and listens to my message, even at the size and the scale and the variety that I have currently.
Right.
It's worth it for me, one person.
100%.
And people don't get that. Like, I deal with people all the time they're like, Tony, I have all these followers. I'm only getting 86 likes. Yeah. Well, that's not 86. Those are 86 people. Right. Would you feel comfortable speaking in front of a room of 86 people? The answer typically is no, I wouldn't be. Right. So why do you look at that as just a vanity metric of it's only 86? How about you message all of them? Because you probably make a few relationships out of them. Maybe one sale, maybe one referral, maybe one business partner over the. You don't know.
I mean, like, look at just today, right? I don't know you. I didn't meet you till today. Yeah. But in me meeting you, we talked about, we like to golf. You have golf outings. You're getting invited to those types of things, and already right there is just certainly worth my time, right? Coming down here, coming down here and, hey, I got a golf outing. I got your number now. Hey, we're doing this outing. Who can I meet there?
Yep.
We're gonna, do closest to the pin. All this kind of all these things that were normally. I could have just been like, let's just keep talking about topics, Dom. Let's just keep. What's another topic we could talk on the podcast about? And one of the things I was listening to on the same podcast that they were telling you that you can't do a podcast, is talk to other people that have followings, and talk to them. What did they do? And that's exactly what we're doing. And hopefully we can work off each other and benefit each other. What I mean?
And podcasts are a great way for anyone listening in I really believe this in any industry. Your podcast doesn't need to be the thing that becomes the next 1 million downloads a month show. Right. Your podcast could be one outlet to spread knowledge and information, to position you further as an authority in what you're doing. Right. Or you can use it as your leveraging tool to get other people on with followings that you don't even know. Right. Like, me, you're going to go through a bunch of people that you'll get Fran on, you'll get a bunch of other people locally. But once you run through all the people that you know that have a following, you now start DMing people that have an influence and say, hey, I would love to get you on my podcast. And you DM 10 people, one hops on. Right. And that's a new relationship for you. Whereas if you're in a different industry, maybe that could lead to a deal, 100%. Leads to a relationship, and it leads to just adding value to your audience, and you get in front of their audience. And that's something that podcasts are just so great that you can leverage in so many different ways.
It's a trickle-down effect.
Yeah, because people, again, they may not see the value in it because there's no direct ROI. But you can't put a direct ROI on some things.
The older generation, they need an ROI because that's what they were told.
Yep.
And that's what worked for them
in that
20,
time.
30 years,
yeah,
20
absolutely
years
right.
ago, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But now our ROI is
Yeah.
It's impossible to see.
It's very difficult to
from
see.
this podcast, from your podcast, from you talking to someone, from you recording yourself, from you doing a cigar review.
Yep.
You can't see it, but you know it's working.
Yeah, even me going to all these events. I'll go to an event, even if I just meet one person. And I'm at an event, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 hours, and be like, why would you only care to go meet one person? If you understand the lifetime value of a relationship, then that one person's worth that 1 to 4 hours, because you don't know over the next 20, 30 years what that one person can turn into, whether it's a sale, referral source, partnership, they can help you hire, bring you into speak, whatever, you don't know where it can lead.
Right.
And people just don't get, if someone can't add instant value to them, they always cut them off and write them off. And I've never done that. And I think that's led us to where we are now, that I just keep relationships all through the years.
Like, case in point with you. You and
Yeah.
we're on a networking chat.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And now I know these 15 guys because of you. Right? And now I'm going to cultivate a relationship with them.
Exactly.
And then from that, it'll lead to something else. And on it goes.
Yep.
It's a snowball.
Exactly.
So what does the future look like for Why Not Media?
Hopefully taking over the world, obviously. But one of our end goals is to kind of be a hybrid between Forbes and Barstool, where we become a media outlet and platform to give entrepreneurs and business owners their platform and outlet to put their message out to the world.
Yeah.
So that's a long-term goal, and all while being able to continue to help.
That's a pretty high goal, man.
Of course.
I see Why Not You in Florida. I see one in LA.
Absolutely.
I see one internationally.
100%.
And you can do it. You got to build the brand up, which we're not even talking about. I don't want to talk about brand. We'll be here for
We'll be here
4
for
hours. But the fact of the matter is, every day you're just chipping at the rock.
Yep.
And it's a daily grind. And that's what everybody needs to understand. It's not, okay, I got to accomplish this month. Once you set like these monthly goals and these yearly goals.
And you don't hit them,
Yeah.
it destroys people.
Absolutely.
And that's the worst you can do. And I've been learning this on my own fitness and health journey and this was very difficult for me to grasp in fitness and health, but I was always doing a business. You chip at the rock every day, but again, every day is a new reset. So if you had a bad day yesterday, it's okay. Like some people let that bad day compound to a bad week. But if you're looking at the macro over a year,
That's exactly what I do.
it's tough. It's very difficult. But if you look at the macro over a year, you got to do good 80% of the time. It's like the 80-20 rule with health and fitness and your diet, right? Same thing with business, 80-20. It's not realistic to have 100%. If you set yourself up to think 100% is realistic, you're going to fail. Because when you don't get that 100%, you're going to beat yourself up way too much and can't get out of that hole.
100%. I lost 2 listings recently, and I poured my heart and soul into these listings. I've had a few meetings with them, hours of my time, and then they just signed with them. And I saw it happen, and I could let that affect my day, my week. But if I let that affect the next day,
Trickles into the next stuff.
it's going to trickle into the next listing because my mindset is, please,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, 100%.
But you got to let it not affect you. Like if you have a bad
tough.
business meeting,
Yeah.
or somebody says, get out of here, I don't care about you.
It's okay. On to the next. There's 8 billion people in the world. Like
Exactly.
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I tell people that all the time too. It's like you can't just let that one bad thing snowball into multiple bad things because you're never going to get to where you want to be. So one bad thing is part of it.
So how do you hold yourself accountable? How do you keep that? You just keep that in your mind?
Well, aside from AccountaBuddy,
Right.
knowing your why.
Hey,
You know,
there you
I
go.
really do think it's knowing your why.
That's
Because
it.
if you know your why, that's going to hold you to the highest standard of what your greatest potential could be.
100%. And you put up like a picture or like something, not a vision board, but maybe a vision board.
Could do a
like-
vision board, yeah, if you're a visual
like
person.
You put up your sister, right? Like
Yeah.
Sam, you're looking at,
Yep.
like, that's why I'm doing it. You know, like I have a picture of my daughter. That's, I really don't want to do this, but that's why I'm doing
But
it.
I have to. Yep.
I have to.
Because she's the why. She's what I'm doing it for. It's greater than just me.
Right.
And listen, for some people, their why could be them.
Right.
And that's completely okay. You just got to be in tune with what is your why.
100%.
Because that's going to keep you disciplined, doing
Right.
what you need to do, even when you don't feel like doing it.
Right.
Well, awesome, Tony. We certainly appreciate the time, man.
Appreciate
This
you
is
guys having me on
awesome.
here.
And
Crazy amount of
again,
value.
yeah, and our first official guest, he's going to hold a place in our heart. 20 years from now,
Yep.
you know, we're going to be like,
We'll get back on.
Once Tony takes over this cigar lounge, we're gonna come.
We'll come back here.
Tony from Tony's Cigar Lounge.
Yeah, well, it's gonna the air conditioner have Why Not You logo on it.
The table definitely would. I'll tell you that.
The Why Not You girls with just signs over there. That's great. Honestly, thank you, bro.
Pleasure,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Thank you so much.
It was awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody, for listening and watching. Once again, this is AccountaBuddy Podcast, Episode 9, with Tony Peck, Godfather of Marketing, co-founder of Why Not You Media, Why Not You Print.
Make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe, and subscribe to him, too. It's a great guy to know. See you next time.
All right, guys.